Well, I had so much fun with Brian the other day that I thought, well, let's bring him back because he is, the futurist. He is the guy. He thinks about the future all the time. And we've been running this game with all of the folks that are the regular guests on this show, where we're looking at that. If we had Elon Musk sitting across from us right now, and we could say, Elon, we've only got time for 10 questions. Here are the 10 things that are really, really bugging me. Are really, really intriguing me about the future of Tesla, the future of the world. And Brian is going to, of course, unlike some of the others, he's going to branch off into some of the other companies as well. So anyway, Brian, I'll let you just start throwing me questions. I'll pretend
Yeah.
I'm Elon.
So uh, the some of the general themes that I have are that um, Tesla needs to align the communications that they have, where they tell us they're going to do something, and then they don't change their financial tracking, their annual report, quarterly reports, and that kind of thing to reflect what they're saying they're going to be. So, example of that is they say they're a AI a robotics company,
Mhm.
right? And they say, why are you still saying that we're a car company, right? If you look at their quarterly report and you look through how many pages, how much space is about cars and how much is about AI and robotics, and it's like, 2 pages on AI and robotics, where they give like, here's their compute, here's the whatever, and here's a little thing. So they're not shifting their documentation to describe this new future,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And then you can give guidance to the future. Like you have a little chart that shows here's the capacity and how we're going to change the capacity a bit on cars, right? They have not done that for FSD. They only said we have like 400,000 people sign up for FSD, and we're going to increase that with whatever version, any kind of goals. And I get they didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver,
Mhm.
right? So you can give a range, just like they say, cars in China, Shanghai is like 950,000 or more.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that would be one, is to why don't you change your annual and quarter reports to reflect these more important things?
Okay.
You know,
Right.
25% of energy, 50% on robotaxi, FSD, and everything else, and give all the meaty details
Mhm.
that you can
Right.
about that, more than just like some little
Right.
compute chart, because
Right.
that doesn't mean anything to the analyst.
Yeah, and I think we could say it would be fair to say that most of that is not something that the competitors are going to be, oh yeah, now I know what to do. I mean, they're
Right.
so far ahead of the competition on most of the stuff, it doesn't matter anyway. I can understand why they might want to cover up some aspects of an Optimus that maybe somebody's going to try to run out and copy. But in terms of your kind of your business plan with regard to Optimus, the TAM is so huge and Tesla is so far ahead that I can't imagine that's giving more detail about their expectations would, and then giving us an ongoing kind of running uh, look at whether they're meeting those guidances or not. Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Right.
okay, good.
And then another aspect would be that they should also change their volume report. So at the end of every quarter, 2 days after, they say, here's how many cars we made.
Right.
Two or three categories of cars,
Mhm.
and now they just given the energy production, right? But they did not break out Powerwall versus Megapack on that, and they didn't break out 4680
Mhm.
production. They didn't break out FSD in
Mhm.
that. So again, if you're an AI robotics company, then how come you don't give us the unit volume of your FSD or your
Mhm.
autopilot? Why are we still guessing on that? There's no, again, secret thing that competitors don't need to know about that, right? So
Right.
why don't we have that volume thing there,
Mhm.
right? Because it's like you want to think of us as a car company. Your volume thing doesn't, has like 80% cars and then 20% on energy and very little detail on energy and
Mhm.
nothing on FSD and
Right.
nothing on robotaxi, right? So again, you're an AI robotics company, report like you're an AI robotics company,
Very
right?
good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then that should also be for the questions. on the quarterly meeting.
Oh, okay.
If you're sucking in questions and you got a bunch of car analysts, you can get a bunch of car questions.
Yeah.
So you have to volunteer or specifically draw out, we're going to take 25% of our questions on energy,
Mm.
25% on cars, and 50% on this other stuff,
Hmm.
right? Because this is what matters. And you will then just opening it up to, like do something like this where you call it out and you get more questions from other things, that would be part of a way to do it. Because if you just like open it to us with the ask whatever website and people just toss it in and vote for it,
Right.
everyone's going to vote for the car question.
Or for the hot tip of that quarter.
Right. Hot tip of that
Whatever's
quarter. Right.
at top of mind. Yeah.
Right. You got to lead.
Yeah.
You got to lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that's changed. That process guarantees you're not going to be talking about what you want to talk about.
Gotcha.
And people aren't going to think about this the way you want to think about it.
Right.
So you have to lead the way and suggest, hey, here's some questions that we think I'm going to answer. Right?
Yeah.
Like why just, yeah.
I wonder if even say, I think it's called say, maybe even say there would be a way for Tesla to tell them, please break this into these categories, and then we're going to take the top 2 questions from each category or something of that nature.
Right. Yeah. So you guarantee you're getting the questions that you want.
Right.
And then you can also spike questions that you think are dumb. Because here's the answer to that dumb question. I've answered 10 times before.
Right.
Just like you get these things about, are you going to have the car intro of the new model, blah, blah, blah. And the answer is always, we will have a car event to announce a new product event.
Right.
Because that's what we do.
Right.
And you asking that question mean you're clueless.
And you've also taken up time and taken up a question which some wiser person could have provided.
Right. It makes Elon frustrated and impatient during the call.
Yeah.
And just also make things bad for the call. Right. Because a frustrated and angry Elon lecturing some guy, it's not good. It doesn't look good. Right. So it pisses off Elon and it bugs us.
Yeah.
And we don't get any answers, any useful information. Right. So why waste the time doing it? You can have a little preamble, just like you give the volume thing so that everyone get ready. Here's the volume. So we don't have to go over that stuff. We're kind of like ready to go. Right. And then here it's like, here, we'll give you a press release thing repeating our frequently asked questions.
Right.
And then don't ask anything on the FAQ.
Right.
Because we already gave you that answer. It's there. Right. I can tell you, go look there. Right. So, and maybe you can get, Sawyer Merritt, some of the crowd to help do a frequently asked questions thing, preamble.
Right.
It's like a concert. The opening act comes out. The comedian goes and says, "Hey, everybody, welcome to the thing." And hey, let's go through some of these questions, blah, blah, blah. So the question can be answered by the B team, by the volunteers to say, here. And then, okay, you didn't answer the question, we'll deal with that. So you just deal with that stuff in a separate way.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thing is that Tesla needs to be a bit more forthcoming on some misses. Like they had the Tesla semis about 2 years late. And we now know that they had reliability issues with the Tesla semi. The VP or whoever, Dan Priestley, came out, went on stage at a European trucking event and said that it was having reliability problems. And then he said that to a crowd full of semi-truck industry people as if they knew it, right? So like, Pepsi, other people may have told them, but us out in the world did not know that was happening. Right. We all kind of pieced it together because you said you're going to have this factory up and built and then things be doing 2024. And then we know that you haven't broken ground. And so, hey, you're over a year late, right? So following up, and that goes to the questions and answers stuff. Like having a call where you expose all your problems is, again, not something that is always done, but you need to have some on your investor relations page, something where you're gonna bring that stuff out, right? You can include that in with this was a minor bit, just to contextualize this thing.
Right.
This miss on semi-truck is no big deal, right? We're going to have a slow ramp anyhow, right? Just like if I was late on Cybertruck by a month or whatever like that, like if we rolled out Cybertruck as early as the Ford F-150 Lightning, right? And then they sell 2,000 a quarter, right? And then we sell 2,000 a quarter because we rush out a Cybertruck and we get 8,000. It's like, who cares?
Right.
You're way below volume. It's meaningless. It's 1% miss, right? So, getting that kind of context around it won't, if we get it, it may be plus or minus a year. And then the first year or two won't be making money anyhow, right? Because looks like Cybertruck, we're 6 months, 9 months in, and they're hoping to get to margin contribution in Q4.
Right.
And they're outselling F-150 Lightning, GM, Rivian combined. All these guys that came out earlier. So contextualize it and say, this is a new thing. Let's dampen your expectations for the first couple of years, right? It's not gonna be that big a deal, right? And if we miss, it'll be that big a deal. So chill out. So we need to have that communication around, because they come in and they say, well, of course, it's, whatever. And then they assume that people know, and they don't. Because, like someone's saying, oh, no 25K car. I'm freaking out because that was my big thing. I was expecting a 25K car.
So Brian, so far on the questions that you've had, they're all amazing and things that it'd be incredible if Tesla did. But I think it would put me out of a job.
Yeah. Nothing of
if they actually answered all these questions, then we wouldn't need a program to speculate. I mean,
there'll be more things to speculate.
There'll be more things to speculate.
Right.
Every question every question that they answer begs two new questions. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's more about a set of 5 kind of like whining communication type issues,
right?
And help get better thing with the investor relations and all that kind of stuff. Now looking forward is we had the master plan part 3,
right?
But it is out of date. They need to update that. So they should update that. But also there is not the Mars plan is also out of date. And speaking about us as a community, they do not engage enough with the community, both for Tesla bots, SpaceX, space community, other things. They do not engage and bring people along. It's why they're making all their own satellites, because they're not creating something that can support other people also making a lot of satellites, right? For them, it's like, okay, if you don't do it, then we'll do it. And so then, we can't be bothered to do it. But if they do want to bring people along, say for 100,000, 500,000, 1 million people for a Mars colony, then you need to get people fired up. If I'm going to do, they said they will launch 5 starships to Mars 2026, right? Only 2 years. Yes, they have a lot to do to get there, but you're going to bring maybe 1,000 tons to Mars, right? I'm sure they have stuff that they want to build and do that kind of thing, but they need to get some kind of support program, just like NASA does stuff where, okay, help get people on board, but they need to have something at SpaceX speed to do it. Because right now, if I'm going to go on to a rideshare mission next year, okay, a Falcon 9, it'll have 100 different payloads on it. You have to pay your deposit, and the whole mission costs $350K that's going to go to them, but they have to validate all this stuff. There's a bunch of work that has to happen for someone to stick something onto your ship. If I'm going to stick something onto the Mars mission, one, you gave people only 2 years. So they got to make their thing, and they have to probably be ready in a year, because they have to be kind of like queued up, ready to package up, all problem free. So you only gave them a year to add anything to that mission. And then if you only give them a year, you need to work with some venture capitalists, some funders, other things to like, we'll take 400 tons, 40%.
Right.
of what we're taking.
Ah,
We'll
yeah.
take some other stuff with that
Mhm.
because we want you guys to start solving some of these living on Mars, doing stuff on Mars things, right?
Right.
So you need to say, we're going to do that, and we open the door to have this thing. And if we miss the window,
Mhm.
here's how we're going to deal with that. Or if we
Mhm.
only get 3 off instead of 5,
Mhm.
then we drop it down. You only 200 tons will go up, and then here's how we're going to break it out. You have to organize this thing.
Right. Right. Right.
You're the main leader. You're dominating space. 90% of what goes into space is going to be yours. Once you have um, Starship going, 99%, 99.9% is yours. You basically own space. Everyone right now looks up to NASA and looks up to the U.S. Defense Department, other space agency things, where they're spending, 25, $30 billion from NASA, 50 to $70 billion from the spy agencies and from the Department of Defense, right? But a lot of that money is not going to actual space stuff.
Right.
It's going to, um, you know, 100 different facilities in each different state so that every congressman and senator will vote for NASA, right? So they have a little program each there and they do stuff like, oh, we're an adjunct to this university and then we're studying climate and then we're, and everything else is kind of spacey, but not actual sending stuff to space.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will use some, but now you're suddenly going to become with maybe 5 million Starlink at the end of this year, 30 million next year, going from like $10 billion in revenue up to $40 billion in revenue, going from barely break even to $30 billion in profit.
Get some cash. Yeah.
Right. So then, and then you by 2026, you could be at 50, $60 billion in profit, double the budget of NASA. If you want other people to help you, you got to help other people
Mhm.
to give them that first leg up. So now they can start contributing. Even if you want them to like, I want you to go to Mars in 5 years,
Mhm.
right? Well, you have to train those people for 3 years. I need to start preparing stuff years in advance. So if you're going to do that, you got to help let other people get organized. And you have to help support do that. You have to probably spend a bit of money. So the Mars Society had a budget of about like $500,000 a year. Has a bunch of volunteers. They do a Mars event, $50,000. They got $1 million from like Blue Origin Club.
Mhm.
So to the Blue Origin Club, something related to Jeff Bezos gave him like $1 million.
Mhm.
And then they do some program. I think they're doing some Mars tech, that kind of thing. The very group that is been dedicated for decades to your vision of Mars
Mhm.
has practically no money.
Mhm.
Elon went to the board. I think he went in the board. Gave him like $100,000, and he's on the board. He's helping, but they're still tiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want the world to be doing Mars, then this should at least have a $10 million a year budget, right? It's chump change,
Mhm.
right? Even helping them do stuff on like on X, X video, right?
Mhm.
Getting the word out, right? Because they're still scrambling doing videos on YouTube that get like 1,000 views,
Right. Right.
right? It's nothing. I go there, I see the stuff, but like all these space enthusiast groups, you got to help them out because they believe in the cause.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Elon went to their meetings
Mhm.
back in the day when he was
Sure.
first starting out,
Sure. Sure.
and they gave him advice,
Mhm.
right? They they want him to succeed bad,
Right. Right.
really, really bad, right? They could have, their kids could be the ones who go to the Mars City,
Mars. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So help them get organized, help this stuff happen because other things have to come together, not just making these things happen. It's like, okay, we got to prepare some payloads, and then people got to go, and then they got to get ready. You can just go, oh, I'm just gonna, they gave he I think gave $50 million to the St. Jude group because another billionaire, Jared Isaacman, launched 4 people
Mhm.
on the Polaris Dawn mission,
Right.
right? And that was a $200 million mission. And then he did some stuff with the Japanese billionaire. It's like, and then the Japanese billionaire can pull it together, right? So you have some other people who like really want to go, really want to do stuff, and you're kind of like letting it fall down when, like find a way to help other people succeed. Other people want to join in and do stuff.
Right.
And then, I get some kind of like laissez-faire. if you can't do it, you can't do it, and I'll just do it, right? But then, the support, popularity, there's things that need to happen that it wouldn't take that much to organize that thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So then there should be documents around that. There should be support around that. There should be some money.
Mhm.
And then the question is, why don't you do it? And then if you do it, what is the plan around that? And then there should be a more detailed living document around the Mars plants. It shouldn't be an occasional pronouncement like Moses coming down with 2 tablets saying, here's what we're going to do for Mars, right? It's like you need to have an ongoing plan. Because if I'm going to do, okay, launch 2026, 5, launch 20 in 2028, every 2 years you go, 2030, we're launching 100, something like that. Once you're up to 1,000, what you're talking about, 2026, that's 570,000 tons was what they landed on D-Day. 7,000 ships, 570,000 tons. You're saying you're going to launch 1.5 million tons, every 2 years to orbit, of which 250,000 tons are going to go to Mars.
Yeah.
So basically 40% of D-Day.
Yeah.
D-Day had a bit of planning.
Yeah.
Right. They had a bit of work to get the stuff, because not just the ships going. The ships don't go empty.
No. Yeah.
You got to bring the stuff along.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot that has to happen. It has to be a concentrated effort. And given the pace of everyone else, because not everyone else works at SpaceX, Elon speed, right? You got to get things moving in order to get, to have, like if I'm a football quarterback and the wide receiver is going, if Elon's and SpaceX the quarterback and they were launching 1,000 footballs over there, who's going to catch that? Oh, you haven't started running yet? I got to throw it and say, hey, go get that ball.
Right.
You don't have to catch it. It's already gone. Right. So that has to, that kind of coordination has to happen.
Okay.
And so if we're going to have that Mars future, you got to
right.
There's a bunch of stuff that has to happen. Society has to do it, and more, especially as they solve the money problem and start making $50 billion in their NASA, they have to spread some of that around in order to plant the seeds and water the seeds so that I have the vegetables I need to take there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like, hey, I got nothing to take. Well, you didn't plant it. How's that going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then, so then there's other things that need to happen with AI and that stuff. So there's these visionary things that we're leaning towards, like Tesla bot. This was like, we need the specs. We need some trial things for other people to try using them. My son is at Purdue University. There's a humanoid robotics club. Which robot are they using? I'm asking you, which one are they using? Take a guess.
Bigger. No, it's probably that Chinese one.
Right, the Chinese one, Unitree.
Yeah, Unitree.
Right. Yeah, so Unitree donated. So Unitree is basically the Boston Dynamics of China. They're publicly traded a few $1 billion, and they have a robot that they sell publicly, $50,000, $100,000. So then they get them out there. So then the students learn to use it, right? So, Apple gave a lot of stuff to the educational program early on, so that over the course of 10, 20 years, everyone got used to Apple software, Apple stuff, because they gave so much to the universities, right? Because you want to have people trained up to use your stuff,
sure.
Right? So right now, if you had 100 Unitrees out there in the universities, what robot are they ready to support and to deal with? A Unitree bot, right? Maybe it overlaps with a Tesla bot, but you're not getting them out to the universities.
Right.
You have to win the hearts and minds and train the people up, right? It's just like you have to prepare. There was an MBA case that I did where it was like, there was a company called People Express, an airplane company that came equipped with kind of like a earlier version of Southwest, right?
Right.
And the thing was, okay, how do we get all these planes up there? And the big problem was that in order for you to plan and manage it, you had to start training and doing stuff with people and personnel in advance.
Right.
Otherwise, operations start to fail. right? Same thing here. You have to think of these time lags for this whole thing, for the whole plan. Like the master plan part 3, there isn't anything, it's got the scale. It took 80 pages to describe the scale. But they didn't say, and we're going to prepare the companies to do this stuff. We're going to work with the hyperscalers to get their energy. We're going to work with, hyperscalers being like Google, Amazon, whatever. And we're going to work with utility companies, their issues, and we're going to train personnel to support these things, right? It's like none of that is in the plan, right? And they don't have any kind of like ongoing, here's the organization and effort to push out a standard to do something, right? So there's all this kind of standard stuff. It's like for programming, there's APIs, where it's like application programmer interface.
Right.
You have to create the interfaces to all these other companies and customers. And also support people. So that had not been done. And it needs to happen. And the question is why, and then how would you do that? Yeah. So I think those are some of my main points. Other things were related to like all these buildings in the future need preparation.
You're basically saying it appears to you that the proactivity across all channels is low.
Right.
So Elon has said, he counts on word of mouth. He sowed the seeds years ago with regard to the university students to where SpaceX and Tesla are the 2 most sought after jobs after engineering school. So he did all that proactivity 20 years ago, which is now getting amazing results. But you're suggesting, I think, in almost every question that the proactivity now is lacking. Why isn't there that same level of proactivity in all of these different channels to where the eventual end user, the eventual customer, the eventual student, again, or future scientist, engineer, whatever, not providing the kind of information about the plan, about the planning, about how the progress is going against the plan, so that people are kind of informed enough to make wise decisions about how they're going to interact with the various aspects of the companies. Is that fair?
Right. And it's also like, if you really want them to be ready at this level of like, I'm trained up in it, I'm dedicating my life to going to Mars, right? I'm doing something around that, then preparation has to happen. If you're going to expect, okay, I'm ready to launch 100,000 people to Mars in 2034. We got the 1,000 starships built. Okay. How do you get them ready? It took like, 5 years to get the Dear Moon guy thing going, and then it bailed out, right? So you have, if your ask is, I want you to move to Mars, right? And then once I opened up the doors on my train, and then here, pile on board. It's like, whoa, I have to pack. I have to, I have to buy the ticket.
And so that's for 8 years from now or whatever, 10 years from now. But in a much more, and I've talked about this on the channel before, in a much more immediate situation, you've got thousands of police departments around the world that buy cars every year. You've got thousands of government agencies every year buying cars, regular old cars, Model 3s and Model Ys would be fine for these agencies. You've got, in Europe in particular, you've got the executive class all getting their cars, even the managerial class, all getting their cars from their companies. Where's the proactivity in making sure that you're providing the reasons why they should be buying Teslas, not just by word of mouth one at a time, but rather by having something going on that reaches out to these people and provides a way for them to easily execute on moving into the future with Tesla products. And so it's kind of the same thing. I see it more from a product standpoint. You're looking at it more from an engineering and pure science standpoint. and also a financial standpoint of we as stockholders and financial analysts being able to analyze the company appropriately. But in all of these cases, I do think that I've always believed that the missing link here in the entire enterprise has been proactive communication, not just relying on stuff kind of filtering. A PR department. It's another example. I mean, advertising is one thing, I get it, Elon, but PR, I don't get it, because you have a massive return on investment from PR if you do it right. So it's kind of the same thing, communicating in a way that is more inclined to get the world to understand what you're up to.
Right. And for me, it's not just communication at this point. It's like there's a level of outreach
Well, that's
and
communication.
support.
That's communication.
Yeah. Well, outreach and support, meaning that there needs to be like, he gave like $45 million to X Prize
Right.
to raise some prizes and that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Right.
So we outsourced some stuff to that. It was just like he's outsourcing the PR to us. Right. Right. But the thing is, he doesn't provide enough support to us for us to do an effective job. Right. We're trying to do as well as we can.
Right.
Right. And it's not like, okay, well, we'd be paid shills, blah, blah, blah. Right. But it's like
artwork, video clips.
Right.
That kind of stuff would be great.
Right. So there needs to be more in giving us tours and inside knowledge and access to things so that we can communicate the real deal instead of expecting from outside. Right. And then also, if there are goals, we want to do blah with people outside, right? Then if we're concerned that this won't come together, the preparations on making payloads for Mars and that kind of stuff, the preparation on making satellite payloads, right? Like, there's universities where they work on CubeSats, right? And they work on creating a mission together. It's a whole, say, class, fifth year, fourth year class, where it's like, okay, USC or something like that. So, okay, let's make a CubeSat, and then we launch it, and there's a big project, and we shove it off, right? If you want to up-level those people, you got to give, again, more support to them. Say, hey, we're going to give you some free launches. We're going to a set of launches, 20 launches, again, rideshare launches for every major university, and we're going to give this support program so that you will have people ready to go and people ready to handle the missions and to get the activity up to the level that you need. Right? You want people to be making 10,000 satellites a year. Like if you're shoving up, 10,000, right now we're shoving up 3,000 Starlinks or something like that per year. Next year, go to 4,000, 5,000. If Starship is working, we can have 30,000 satellites. No one else is ready to do it. And then why? It's because who's done it? Like I have to have $1 million, $2 million to get experience to do a satellite. Right? I don't have it. Even a university may not have it. Right? So you're saying I'm guaranteeing I will have no one competent to do it because I'm not giving them any support on that. And then if you're the big dog launching 99%, then you have to step up to 99% of the effort to get the rest of the industry up to speed and the rest of the staff and training and other things up to speed. If you say, if I'm going to have Starship going, I'm going to go up to a staff of like 500,000, right? Well, just recruiting people just in time, you're guaranteed not to have anyone trained. Right? I'm just going to hop on board. We'll train you in the first 2 years, right? You're guaranteeing that you have to train them for 2 years because they have no experience coming in. Right? So there needs to be that kind of responsibility, ownership of the whole ecosystem that you want to live in.
Right. And so that nobody gets confused that we think we know more than Elon about these kind of things, or we think we're smarter than Elon or smarter than the 150,000, 70,000, whatever it is, employees between all these companies. No, duh, that is not what we're saying. In fact, I wrote a book giving 16 ways that Elon Musk is the best there's ever been in leadership, in communication, in entrepreneurship, in execution. I mean, you want to read the book, there it is, the Elon Musk Method. Brian was a major contributor to the Elon Musk mission, where he talked about the amazing things that are happening in all these different companies. And that was 2 years ago, and a lot of them are still just beginning to ripen and become true. But we're laudatory. We think the reason we do this is because we're so excited about what Elon Musk and these companies do, and believe he's got staffing that is the best that you could possibly get. It doesn't mean that there isn't blind spots. That doesn't mean that, a great entrepreneur can't have such success. In fact, success can be your enemy, that your success is so great that you don't notice over here that, gee whiz, maybe we're forgetting about, this other thing over here. I used to say all the time when I had my company that I only had 5 jobs. I had production, I had sales, I had accounts receivable, I had accounts payable, and I had finance. That was it. That was my 5 jobs. And every single year, at the end of the year, when I was looking back, it would turn out that one of those got the short shift. 3 or 4 of them got all the attention, and one of them was like, "Oh man, if we just produced more, or if we just collected our receivables better." Anyway, Elon has a lot more balls in the air.
Yeah, he's got like 50 things, and
Yeah,
yes,
right.
he's got some things delegated, but it's still, it's a huge amount of stuff that he's doing,
Huge amount.
and things like on the X platform, right? He's hasn't got a video page. Like it can do video. It needs to have better upload for putting videos up there. It's super slow and not reliable,
Yeah.
right? So that needs to have its own page and needs to have some infrastructure, which means some hardware spend on the back end of that. So another request, if you're going to do X with video, you need to do that. And then there needs to be some preparation for X payments to get, because they're getting within range of that, where they have 38 licenses in 38 states are licensed to do that, including California.
Right.
So that is ready to do his PayPal. Elon made PayPal,
Right.
and he wants to create a WeChat like super app.
Right.
So that can change things. But there's things that have to happen again with the community to get that. And they need to have some kind of like community or customer feedback engagement thing, panels on that, because I think Farzad Farzad made a thing. Hey, I only make 1% of the money on X that I do from YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And Elon was surprised.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously, that is a basic metric that you should know if you're doing video on that. And why doesn't your head of X video know this thing? And that
My videos get no more. I started putting my videos up, all of them. I put them up raw. This one will go up raw, as all of them do. I put them up raw. I get the same amount of reach, maybe 600, 800, 1,000 people seeing that video. So my reach on the videos is no different, zero difference between a raw video, and putting 3 exclamation points on a repost.
Mhm.
A la the Elon method of reposting, putting an exclamation or a smiley face. I'll get 300 or 400 or 500, or 1,000, depending on what it is, a range, let's say, of 300 to 1,000. And then once in a while you get the big one that, hits for 10,000 or 20,000, but most of the time it's 300 to 1,000. That's what my videos get too. Every once in a while, one of those gets at the 10,000 or gets 15,000, but for the most part, they get the same amount of reach. That makes no sense.
And it also doesn't get any more revenue, even though you could be engaging them from a difference of like a fraction of a second to look at the 3 dots or 3 exclamation marks versus 10 minutes, 15 minutes watching a video each.
Right.
And then it's like there's no difference in the interaction. So,
all right,
revenue. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think we've made the case. I think hopefully maybe somebody besides just the crowd sees this one. Maybe you could pass this one along, post it, repost it, send it along to somebody that that might be that has some ability to get into the ear of top management, because I do think this is the one. Who am I? But I've been analyzing companies my whole life, writing books about companies my whole life, running companies my whole life, and helping consult with over 400 companies. I think that Brian is right about this. Brian's also doing consulting. This is it's just a blind spot. I just think it's a the singular most important. I'm going to leave one last example. I think it was the biggest and best example last year. Brian and I have already talked about it, but I'm just going to mention it one last time. And that was the Hertz deal. The Hertz deal is almost a microcosm of everything that Brian just described. Here was the opportunity. The opportunity was huge. It made the stock go up 20 points. The company that he was dealing with was going to buy 100,000 vehicles times, $45,000 a piece. There was no proactivity at all. Nobody's sitting there thinking about the confusion of a first-time user trying to figure out how to use it. No proactivity with regard to whether there was going to be more accidents or more issues with regard to the parts supply and whatnot. Yes, it happened during this crazy business of parts shortages and whatnot, but still there should have been proactivity. There should have been a liaison or 2 or 3 or 4 working with Hertz. There should have been new things being produced all along that would help people to understand the car better, so as to eliminate some of these hiccups. And the result was a complete catastrophe, one of the few catastrophes. But I do think it speaks to everything that Brian just brought up on this show. So, Brian, thank you as always for coming on and pointing out stuff that nobody else is talking about.
Thank you, Randy.
All right. And until next time, it's been great talking to you.